In this section, we are going to explore the phase 5 of this dissociation process that we are working on here. The perspective that is similar to moving away from the space in which you are and seeing it from afar and from other angles so that you can see the complete panorama of what you are experiencing, and in this way, you can give it its correct dimension. When you are in the middle of a relationship or a traumatic situation, you only see what is in front of you. The famous elephant story applies here. If you had never seen an elephant, and you didn't even have the notion of what an elephant is, and suddenly someone will blindfold you and put you very close to an animal of this type, so close that your eyes could be glued to his skin, you wouldn't know what was in front of you. But if I move 4 steps away, you can get a better idea of what you have in front of you. And if I allow you to rotate around the animal, you will begin to see other details of that mammal that you had not paid attention to before. You will see its fangs, its tail, its trunk, its ears, etc. If I tell you this, it is because it gives you a very clear idea of what perspective is, in the case of your dissociation process. In this way, perspective is achieved through a technique called contextualization that will help you define the context, the environment in which the situation that causes you so much pain occurs, so that you can see that it is not something as abnormal as you could believe, within the framework of that natural and temporal space in which you live, which will help you realize that what you suffered had to happen because it is part of life. I know very well when you will suffer a traumatic experience, it is something very tragic for us, because we are the ones who suffer it after all. But what happens when we put the circumstances in a context, in a much larger space of analysis? Think of context as the place and time in which you live. If you lived in the jungle and suddenly a lion attacked you, would you think it would be something strange, given the space in which you live? If you lived in the desert, do you think it would be strange that you would experience a lot of thirst? It is not something strange. Therefore, if you enter into a relationship with someone emotional and stable, the context, at a time in which relationships have become very complicated because men have their conflicts and women also have them, does it seem strange to you everything you have suffered up to this moment? And that is precisely the idea of contextualizing a situation, because it allows us to observe that what happened to us was something possible. It was something that rather we did not expect because we had not adapted to our life circumstances, to our environment, to our context. Your partner could have been the lion that attacks you in the jungle or the desert, which constantly subjects you to that process of emotional thirst because you do not receive from him or her that affection that you were looking for so much in that person to be happy. The issue is how you adapted to that lion or lioness or that desert. So, for the purposes of what happened to you, you feel bad because your girlfriend or boyfriend broke up with you. You are suffering. And in that process, you fall into the belief that you are the only one who experiences what causes you so much pain. And as you are now gaining perspective, you realize that this is clearly not the case, since throughout life, there are always people who suffer these circumstances and even worse circumstances than what you experience. Therefore, the idea here is that you can discover for yourself that everything you are suffering at this moment, after all, is not as abnormal as it might seem. For example, if you are very afraid of death, One way to contextualize all of this and put it into perspective is to consider that everything in the universe is going to die, even our sun. Therefore, what we believe to be so terrible, in the universal context, ceases to be so. In your case, I want you to think about the following. First of all, what is causing you so much pain? Here you can answer with complete ease. The general theme. My partner left me. I feel abandoned. There's a person who is hurting me right now. Based on that, the next question that arises is if you know other people who have faced a similar situation. I am sure that if you do a thorough examination of conscience, you will realize that there are indeed other people who have faced what you have had to experience. Based on this, the next thing I want you to consider is what happened to all those people who were exposed to the same thing that you are suffering right now. You will realize that unless it is a situation that is too terrible, that it warrants another type of therapy, people who have faced the same thing as you have survived and have moved forward. Therefore, I want you to think of a series of examples that allow you to observe this more clearly. If you were in my office, I would give you the examples myself, since I would know what your terrible situation is, which we have to put into perspective here. If it is the issue of your partner leaving you or cheating on you, let me tell you that I myself survived that situation, both abandonment and cheating. And yet, I am here happy, blissful, and having the best years of my life after that experience. For this reason, the last thing I want you to do here is to think about moments that have been traumatic for you and that despite how painful and strong it was, you still survived and your life improved. Which is a complete example that everything difficult that you face at this moment will also go away and will give way to new life experiences, which will give you new opportunities to achieve the happiness that you deserve so much. As you can see, perspective allows you to see the full picture of what you are facing and give it its proper dimension in comparison to other situations that have affected your life or lives of other people in the world. By gaining perspective, you are able to dissociate more quickly from what until before this program hurt you so much. In the next section, we are going to work on the next phase of psychic dissociation, which are the possibilities that open up in your life once you have put everything that bothered you into perspective. I see you there.